what's up guys? Brad from Gledhill Customs again. So, I figured today had some time and I'm at a point on this build that I'm working on that I can show you guys a few tips on cutting undercuts as well as the enhanced finger groove. Some guys like that, some guys don't. I love it. Personally, I run them on all of my pistols. They are awesome. So we'll kind of give you a quick rundown. There's multiple ways to do it. This is just the way that I do it, right? It's quick, it's easy. We try to strive to help the at-home guys, right? As you can see, I'm in my garage, my stockpile of boxes that I use for shipping projects and whatnot, but that's how I started, right? Yes, it's a functioning business for me now, but at one point I was sitting here in my garage working on my own personal frames, practicing, you know, trying to get it figured out. I found out that there just wasn't a whole lot of educational videos on framework. There's some, you know, there is some out there, but it's kind of hard to find the information. So I figured now that I'm to the point that I'm at, I might as well help, right? I'm always good at answering questions. Guys reach out to me all the time. I'm quick at getting back to them and answering the questions. I like to help, but I also thought, you know, I'm gonna put all this stuff on YouTube, and that way you guys have a place that you can go find it. If there's not something there, you can reach out to me. So, but with that being said, this is where we're at, okay? I've already done the delete here on the bottom finger grooves. The top one is still stock. Let's see. There you go. See, everything is factory from here up. I haven't messed with any of it yet. I've removed the texture because I'm going to be cutting borders and stippling all that. I've done all that in other videos. So now it's time to show you the undercuts. So I'm going to move the camera down and we're going to get going. All right. Got my trusty mask. Safety first. You don't want to be breathing this stuff in, so you got to have a good respirator. Eye protection also. Sometimes I don't practice what I preach, but okay. I'm gonna start. Okay, let me start over. So some guys will actually take and tape off their lines of right where they want their undercuts, which is fine. Some guys will draw out their enhanced finger groove how they want it. That's fine too. For the ease of this video, I'm just going to do it. I've been doing it long enough that I just do it all by hand. Keep everything straight. You can see as you're going if anything needs to be moved or not. So I'm going to take the mask off for a second. So 1/2 inch sanding drums. Okay, all generic. You can buy them in bulk. You're going to need a ton of these. I run 2 different ones. I run this 80 grit, and then I run a 240 grit, which is obviously way smoother, and we're gonna come back to that one. But for now, I'm using my 80 grit, and I'm gonna start cutting. I always start on my enhanced finger groove first because I need to delete what they left there from the factory. You don't want to go too deep because you can push through into that mag release spring. There is a thin spot there, so you just want to go deep enough that you're cutting off this factory texture, and you'll be able to see it. Just nice and easy. You don't want to push hard, just use a light hand. Okay, I'm going to stop and show you where we're at, just so you can see what I'm talking about by being able to actually see it. Okay, so, oops, I've started removing it all, but you can see, maybe you can see there's still the line that runs through there where that factory texturing was, okay? That, you know, is a safe depth. You don't want to go any deeper than that, but you want to go down a minimum of that depth because you need to have those lines gone for the polishing part. So I'm going to keep at it. Okay. Now, I'm down to a depth, at least it looks, pull this off. So I'm down to a depth where at least it looks like everything's covered. Okay, now one thing to keep in mind is you might not be deep enough yet, okay? As you're grinding and sanding away that texture, the polymer's melting and it can cover up some of that factory line there. But that's fine. You'll be able to see it as soon as you start going with your lighter grit paper. So that's where we're at so far. Now I'm gonna take and I'm gonna start opening up my finger groove here, okay? Everybody complains about the Glock knuckle, as they call it. So I'm gonna start with my undercut. Now that I've got the finger groove started, I'm gonna start cutting into this undercut here. Generally, I work it up. You see, so you see how it comes up right here and it has that curvature to it. Okay, all I do, I don't cut into the frame, I open it up here. Okay, and so when I'm done, this curve isn't gonna be as pronounced as it is. It's just gonna be opened up and allowing more room for your finger to set. So I'm gonna do a little bit of sanding and we'll come back and show you. Okay, so now, oops, you see what I mean by I'm not going into the actual frame, I'm actually cutting into that trigger guard there. You can see the hump here, okay, of where it hasn't been sanded yet. So now the next step is going to be blending that enhanced finger groove, okay? Both sides through the center. You want to make it look like it's one piece. So I'm going to start and I'm just going to connect from this curve here that I left originally, okay, and I'm going to work it right up into my trigger guard. Now I got to be careful because I am going to be doing a mag scallop, so I got to keep in mind that my scallop is going to be there too, so I can't go too far in. This being a Gen 3 frame, it will have that mag scallop, but same on this side. Okay, my rounded part here is going to be blended in. This point's going to be gone and it's just going to be nice and straight up through there and into that undercut. So let's get it. Now remember, you got to keep a light hand. You don't want to push too hard. Just nice and light. Let the sanding paper do its job. You don't want to force it. You're just taking off the high spots. Okay. There it is. Now, my enhanced upper finger groove is roughed in, okay, as well as I've opened up that channel and eliminated the potential for your Glock knuckle, okay? So we started with my first undercut there. Now, the second one, okay? Like I said, some guys will take and run electrical tape along here and line it up to where it's perfect thickness and everything, which when you're first starting out, that's probably gonna be easier for you to do. It gives you a line to work off of, you know, and you essentially just, it's like coloring in between the lines, right? But you're cutting in between the lines. I'm not gonna do that. Like I said, I've done hundreds and hundreds of these, so it's just quicker for me to get going. But I'm gonna go after it, and then I'll stop and show you. You'll notice that I shape really bad. So for me, I keep a nice grip here, touch the frame, and then I roll my frame into my Dremel. Okay, that helps me keep everything straight and not so shaky. At least until I get my lines cut in. Okay. Now you can see that I've started with my undercuts, my double undercut, okay? At this point, you can do a bunch of different things. Everybody does theirs a little different. You can leave a hump, give it the old triple ripple, which is cool. Generally, I don't. I just nice and flat and keep the undercut because I do tend to move my fingers a little bit, you know, just depending on what's comfortable for me. So I'm gonna continue to grind on this. I'm gonna get that hump out, get it nice and flat, and we'll show you the next trick. Get some of that flashing off there so you can see it. Sorry, I know this is kind of a monotonous, boring video, but really only one way to do it, and that's just to kind of get it done and show you. So you can see nothing's too crazy, but it's just nice and easy, recessed edges there. Everything's straight. Okay. So now I'm gonna switch over from my 80 grit to this carbide cutting bit, okay? And the reason is I'm gonna use my bit here to canter my edges. And I'm gonna put a nice 45-degree angle, give or take, along both sides, okay? you don't have to do this. This is just something I do to make it look really nice, finished like it's meant to be. But this only cuts one way. So on the right side of the frame, I pull it towards me, okay? And then I push it away to help clean up the cutting gouges and that. It just kind of smooths it up. Then I'll turn it around and I'll pull it towards me and then I'll push into it. I'll show you what I mean. Okay, one side. Okay, see how it puts a nice canter on those edges? I don't know if you can see or not, if it'll zoom in enough, but just nice. It's still gonna need to be polished and sanded up, but you can see that there is some cut marks in there, but that's fine because we're gonna be polishing in that. So, okay, now we could put away our tungsten carbide bit. This is just the one I use, generic. You can buy them on eBay for, I think it's like 10 bucks for a whole pack of them. You get a bunch of different ones. Now I'm gonna swap over to the 240 grit, okay? And I'm gonna start out dry. I'm gonna dry sand just enough that I can clean up some of this mess on here, get some of these deep gouges out really quick, okay? It's not gonna take long dry. Okay, now you can see that that really cleaned it up. It's actually starting to look like an undercut now and an enhanced finger groove, but it's still really, really rough. Big gouges. This is where you would see if your old texture, the factory texturing, this is where you would see it, okay? You would be able to see a small indent because that 240 grit would have wiped away where it had melted and filled in that gap. Don't have any of that, but I do have a bunch of deep scratches and gouges. So the trick to that is wet sanding. I'm gonna take the mask off now because we're going wet. There's not gonna be anything. All right, got me a little jar here. WD-40 is the key, okay? Let your let your sanding drum get nice and saturated. Okay, and then get a good amount on the frame, the parts that you're going to be working on, smoothing and polishing up, okay? And you want to let it soak for just a minute because what it's doing is that polymer is absorbing the WD-40 and it's softening the polymer. You can sit here for hours and hours and hours and sand and polish and sand and polish and sand and polish, and that's great, but if you're running a business and you don't have time to do it, WD-40 works every time. A nice wet sand smooths things up. It does it super quick, and it's insane. A lot of the pros do it, but it's just one of those little tricks that you kind of learn, you know, as you're going, that really, really helps out. So I'm gonna let that set on there for just a second, hit the vape a few times, and then we'll be back, okay? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead, resaturate my drum here. I'm gonna turn it on. You wanna go at a low speed. You don't want it to be too fast, okay? And you just wanna work it back and forth. When I'm first getting my gouges out, I'll do just kind of a back and forth motion, okay? And that's just gonna help eliminate some of those scratches, okay? And you don't wanna let it get too dry, because when you get to the point that you're dry, your wet sanding isn't working, obviously. So I'll use up every bit of this compound that I can before I have to re-dip everything and get it going again. Move over to the enhanced finger groove. Just back and forth, back and forth. Now this 240 isn't gonna cut like that 80 grit did, okay? This is more for just smoothing everything out and allowing you to see the imperfections that you need to get fixed, and then you can go from there. Okay, and I'm gonna work everything that I've cut to date, you know, or so far on this frame, and then I'm gonna stop and I'm gonna assess where I'm at, and then we'll re-wet everything down and we'll go from there. Okay, I'm gonna do my canters along the side. Okay. Always keep a handy dandy rag around. Great use for old t-shirts, right? We'll wipe everything off and we're gonna take a look at it. All right, look at the difference that made. Obviously it's not done, but it's smoothed out quite a bit, okay? Now, you wanna check for, because I can still see, I don't know that you guys will be able to see them, but there is still some deep gouges here, you know, from that 80 grit. Let's see if you can get them in the light so you can kind of see a few of them in there, okay? The goal is to do away with the gouges, right? If you are gonna polish this and get it to shine, you can do either a gloss finish or you can do a matte finish, and I'm gonna show you both ways. But either way, you don't want a bunch of gouges on there, right? Even if you're just a guy that's doing this in your garage, on your own personal firearm, and it's good enough, we always shoot for first time quality, like our good buddy Marine Gun Builder says, okay? We're trying to get that first time quality, so you might as well do it right the first time. So, gonna re-wet everything, and we're gonna go again. Now I'm gonna start working in a circular motion, just small circular strides. Are gonna help start to polish everything and start getting all them gaps filled in, and just gonna keep working it back and forth. Okay, when it starts to dry up, I move over to the other side and do the same thing, small circular strokes. Very time consuming, but like I said, this is the fast way to do it. If you think this takes a while, you should try and do it without wet sanding. Okay, I'm gonna move into my undercuts. Same thing. Very light-handed, letting the sandpaper do what it's supposed to do. I'm not forcing it. Just nice and easy. Circular patterns. Sorry, I know you guys can't see much that when it's turned that way. Onto this double undercut. Work my line there for my knuckle, and then I'm just gonna nice and easy, edge to edge, the entire. All right, sorry, had a phone call come through, but still working it, okay? Everything's starting to smooth up, getting rid of all of our grooves. I'm gonna do one more round of that wet sanding with our 240. Try to work out, I still got 1 or 2 deep gouges here that I want to eliminate. So the undercut's looking good though. I just want this finger groove to kind of smooth up a bit more. Gonna do just a little more on my undercut here, just cause. Clean up them. Okay. Give it a good wipe down and we'll see how she looks. So you see how everything is smooth, okay? It's still got kind of a gloss or a matte finish to it. So if you want to leave it matte, like the matte finish, which 90% of the time I do, you're gonna want to wet sand the entire process, okay? Now that I'm done with my 240 grit, I'm gonna switch over. This is just my old Dremel. These are actually 400 grit sanding drums. They're 1/4 inch instead of the 1/2 inch. A lot of guys will just take and wrap some sandpaper around one of these with a little bit of electrical tape or whatever to get it to hold on and keep working up. I've got a bunch of these 1/4 inch that I use, so it's just as easy for me to swap over here to this Dremel. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this wet because we're gonna show you what a matte finish it looks like. So I'm gonna hit it now with my 400 grit, and it's gonna be the same process, okay? Just nice and easy. But now is what we're doing is we're not sanding now, we're polishing, okay? So as slow as RPMs as you can go. Now granted, this Dremel will only go so slow. My Marathon, my micrometer, I can go way low on a speed and it works perfect. This one will only go so low, but it is what it is. We work with it. get her plugged in, apparently. Knocking shit down. Okay, lowest speed. I'm just gonna want to start working it. Circular motions, wet sanding, using our WD-40. And you'll see how that puddles up as I'm kind of working on it. Okay, so I'm just gonna keep working it into the puddle. That way I can utilize as much of that WD-40 as I need. Okay, run it along my knuckle groove there. And like I say, you don't want to be pushing hard. You want to let that sanding drum do what it's supposed to do. And in this case, we're not sanding, we're polishing. So just small circular motions, very light-handed, and let's just let it work. Okay. I'm gonna run down my sides. And I'm gonna swap over and do my enhanced finger groove. Same thing, just work it in circles, work into your puddle. See how it gives it that nice matte finish? Okay, it's not gonna scuff up, or pardon me, it's not gonna smear, you know, it's not gonna be noticeable when you touch it. Actually polishing it to make it shiny, it is, okay? It looks good for a little while, but then it ends up going matte anyways, so it's best just to leave them matte finish, but to each their own. So that being said, I'm gonna hit this one more time, wet sanding with that 400 grit drum, and then we're gonna go into how to actually polish it, okay, to make it shine. Normally this is where I would stop because this frame is gonna be Cerakoted. So it's gonna be painted over anyways, doesn't need to be polished or anything fancy. But for the sake of this video, we're gonna go through and make her shine. Okay, that is it for the 400 grit. Like I said, normally this is where I would stop. Everything's cut, everything's smooth. Getting Cerakoted anyways, gonna have to go through the sandblaster. But you see how nice that fits? Golly. Okay, I'm gonna turn it off for a second. I'm gonna get swapped over to my next sanding drum really quick. And so normally I would go from 400 to 800. I am out of 800 grit drums, so we're gonna jump right to 1,000, which it's gonna show you what we need to see. So I'm gonna go 1,000 and then I'm gonna go 2,000, okay? Yeah, so like I said, it'll be good enough for the video to kind of give you the gist of everything, and we'll see you. I'll be right back. Okay, swapped around. I'm gonna hit fast forward. This is just literally the same thing. Circular motion, back and forth, get everything polished. We are polishing, don't push, okay? So I'm gonna speed things up because this video is already long enough, but you'll get it. You'll get the gist of it. Okay, so you get the gist of it, right? You see that I swapped over to that 2,000 grit. You can work up into 2,500, 3,000. If you want to put a mirror polish on it, go up as high as you want, polish as long as you want, right? Like I said, just for the simplicity of this already way too long video, I just went to 2,000 and I only did a couple passes. It's getting Cerakoted anyway. So last final step, buffing wheel, okay? These come in all your kits, all your Dremel kits have them, okay? Just any generic buffer. You don't want to go too high a speed, just like when polishing, nice and slow, okay? Circular motions, and what this is doing is this is putting that final shine on it, okay? It's getting it to where it's a nice polished look. And as you're doing this, you might see, like I can see that there's still a few small imperfections. If I was actually going to polish this out for a customer as a final product, I would go back and start, not the whole process over again, but I would start over on my, say 240 grit and work back up to get rid of these small minor blemishes that's on here. Because if you want that polished look, that's what you need to do. But where this is going to be Cerakoted, those are going to be covered. You know, it's amazing to me how shiny plastic can actually get. You can literally put a mirror finish on it if you wanted. You'd be sitting here all damn day, but to each their own. Like I said, it gets buggered up after a little bit anyways, and it goes dull, so I usually just stick with the matte finish myself, but okay. Look at that shine. See that? All the way around. That's it. That's all there is to it. You know, it takes a lot of time, a lot of patience. Let's see. you can, I don't know if it'll zoom in enough, but there is a few imperfections on there that's noticeable when you start polishing it. If I was gonna leave it polished, then I would go back and clean them up, but I'm not. So, but that's it, guys. That's all there is to it. Sanding, 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 lots and lots of sanding. So I'm gonna end it here. Hopefully this helped. Let me know, hey, you're an idiot, that's not how you do it, or hey, this is a great video, right? I like to hear you guys' feedback. If there's any videos or anything that you guys have questions on, reach out to me. If you want to see something done, send me a message here, Facebook, Instagram, doesn't matter. Send me a message. I'll put together a video on it. You know, I've already got a bunch out. So, like I said, let me know if I can help, guys. I really appreciate everything you do. Thanks for watching.